Moved by Councillor Hudson, seconded by Councillor Rolle. Resolved that the regular meeting commence at the hour of 7 p.m. And be it further resolved that Council acknowledges that we are meeting in the Robinson Superior Treaty Area on lands that have been traditionally used by several Indigenous nations. But we would like to pay special recognition to our closest Indigenous neighbours, the communities of Bitagon, Nishnabeg, and Pic-Mobert First Nations. We wish to recognize the long history of the First Nations and Métis people in our region specifically and show respect to them today. All in favour? I'd like to call the meeting to order and welcome everybody here this evening. It's great to see such a big crowd. Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda? Seeing none, I'll call for disclosure of pecuniary interest.
Mr. Mayor, there is a correction on the agenda. The minutes, the agenda item 0902 should say March 20th rather than February 13th.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Rolle, seconded by Councillor Hudson. Resolved that the agenda be approved as amended. All in favour? The next item is a delegation by Mr. McNeil, Value Mart.
Yeah, my name is Richard McNeil from McNeil's Value Mart. I'm just here tonight to get approval to put up my garden center tent this year, located on the side of the building. It's approximately 14 feet by 36 feet. Be there from May 21st to approximately July 6th. I think it's a great opportunity to keep the residents of Manitowoc to do their shopping. It'll also create about 400 hours of extra labor for the summer too. So my goal since I've come here was to give a reason for the people in Manitowoc to stay in Manitowoc to do their shopping. And I think this is just another part of it to help beautify the outside of their houses, the residents, and the town. So.
Thank you. Any questions, Council?
I mean, I'm well aware of the garden center that you're looking to put up.
Right.
And are you looking at any safety barriers or anything?
Well, what I was thinking about is at the back, because it seems to be a concern of people coming around the back of the store, was to have our soil there, so that nobody be able to get through there to get to the tent. When you're talking cars or anything like that, mm-hmm. Right? So.
Okay.
And also for me, it's convenience for the water and the electricity, right? Because I need both of them to run there. So.
Seeing no further questions, moved by Councillor Hudson, second by Councillor Rolle. Resolved that the deputation provided by Richard McNeil, owner of McNeil's Value Mart, regarding a garden centre tent be accepted and as received, and we request administration to provide a report so that we can get back to you on it.
Okay. Thank you very much.
All in favour?
When will I know that?
Mr. McNeil, we'll have that prepared for the next council meeting,
okay.
2 weeks from today.
Okay.
The next item is a delegation by the museum. Please have a seat.
So we'll start out by explaining a little about the history and the beginnings of our museum. The Manitowoc Historical Society was born in 2001. We spent the early years developing our constitution and bylaws, fundraising, and operating several small museums in Hallmark Square. The popularity of our 2004 museum during the town's 50th anniversary convinced us to seek a permanent home for our rapidly growing collection. History of the museum. In 2006, the Anglican Diocese of Algoma donated their surplus Church of the Holy Spirit to the community for use as a museum. The transfer agreement stipulated that the society maintain a section of the building as a sacred place. We have always honored that condition, and we will continue to do so. For more than a decade, we have operated our community museum without support from any of the three levels of government. During our early history, we reached out to several different township councils requesting help in the form of donations in kind, partnership, or dollars. These requests were declined. Over time, our museum executive and membership came to the realization that we could do it on our own. A dedicated and selfless legion of volunteers have contributed their time and expertise over the years. Through donations of priceless physical artifacts, photographs, written material, etc., that generous donors entrust to us for safekeeping comprise our collection. But we are more than a community museum. Our collection is truly regional in scope. Much of our activities are not particularly visible to the public at large, but we are always active. Just a few examples. There's a frequent exchange of information with museums and historical societies in Marathon, Heron Bay, White River, Karamat, and Greenstone. So much of our history is shared in common. For instance, Geraldton was the base of operations when Barker, Davidovich, and Forrester flew into remote and isolated Manitouwadge Lake in 1953 to stake the ore body that eventually became Jico and Wilroy Mine. The Angler German prisoner of war / Japanese internee camp near Marathon was the base for many bush workers who worked in our 1940s era logging camps close to Manitouwadge. Our current museum display at the library gives you a fascinating glimpse into that story. We are offering guided tours to Angler again this year. Last fall, our museum arranged and hosted an enthusiastic group of rockhounds from Thunder Bay. Their two-night stay dropped around $2,000 tourist dollars into this community, and they plan to return this year and bring additional members, more tourist dollars. Last September, we attended the second Stevens reunion and set up a display of old photos and maps that was the highlight of the gathering. We continue to seek permission to reprint the Jico story. That's this book, some of you may be familiar with. It's a history of the Jico mine in town. This long out-of-print book is much in demand. Our museum has regular hours during July and August, and at all other times we will open on request, and we do open often on request. Property taxes. In 2017, after the museum had been active for more than a decade, the museum received its first property tax bill. No explanation, no warning, no consultation, not even the mandatory assessment notice. We immediately approached the township for an explanation and were told it had nothing to do with them. It was all the Municipal Property Assessment Corporation's doings. The township provided contact information for Impact's Thunder Bay office, and there began a bizarre and frustrating adventure that apparently resolved nothing, but just added to the confusion. At the conclusion of our 4.5 months of consulting with Impact, we assumed the billing error had been corrected, but then just 1 month ago, we received a threatening letter from the township demanding $47,000 in property taxes and late payment charges for the 2-year period, 2017 and 2018, and then another $20,000 for 2019. Or they may commence tax sales proceedings to seize our property and offer it for sale through a public tendering process. Our research and consultation with dozens of other communities and museums spread across Ontario confirmed that museums like ours do not pay property taxes. Impact's own website indicates that museums are in the special and exempt category, right alongside libraries, churches, art galleries, etc. During the property transfer process in 2001, the Township of Manitowoc provided written assurance that the museum would retain its tax-free status. That letter is in your package. Council has the authority to direct administration to waive taxes and declare tax-exempt status for our community museum. Previous Manitowoc councils have exercised that discretionary power in other cases. Other communities do it on a regular basis. You can readily resolve this mess. It is tragically ironic that while the 700 other museums, art galleries, and heritage organizations in Ontario are celebrating official Museum Month, the Manitowoc Museum has to fight for its very existence. Gail Isaacs will now explain some of the negative domino effects that will affect other local and regional parties if we lose our community museum. Following Gail's short presentation, we invite your questions, and then we will conclude with a quick wrap-up. Gail?
Okay. My name is Gail Isaacs. I'm the Special Project Manager for the Manitowoc Museum. I would like to bring forward the negative impact the tax situation will have on the whole community if Council chooses not to help us with this problem. The museum will have to close, and it would be devastating, really, for the whole town. All past, present, and future history of our town and surrounding area would be lost. History of our 3 mines and the forestry, like your logging companies and everything that started the town, along with artifacts that were entrusted to us by them, will be lost. And the mines and forestry were the source of the existence of our community. The museum is housed in a heritage building, one of the only few left in town. There isn't many. A place that is 60 years old. The Anglican Church was a cornerstone of the community for our pioneers, and it holds memories of funerals, marriages, baptisms, etc. And a place where visitors who once lived here bring their children and grandchildren back to look through the yearbooks and have great laughs. You will be taking away the community's heritage and pride of our early settlers' existence. The community is proud of their museum and heritage. Please help us to maintain it. Also lost would be the hands-on experience of education sessions for classes of school children who come to reenact laundry days, etc., using the artifacts stored here and touching and seeing firsthand pioneer days. Stories are never ending in the museum with the actual artifacts at hand. A summer student will lose 7 weeks of much needed income for their post-secondary education. The Tourism and Information Bureau is housed in this building, rent-free, and has been for over 6 years at no cost to the town. We pay the water, the hydro, the heat, we cut our grass, we pay our own insurance. This will need to be moved elsewhere at a cost to the taxpayer if the museum is closed. It would be a dishonor to many hardworking, faithful volunteers that are needed to run all charitable organizations in our town. And then, like dominoes falling, it will affect the branches that stem from the museum, such as Threads, our community well-loved used second-hand store, and storage area for Threads so that it can be viable will also be lost. Clothesline Charity will lose. Marjorie House in Marathon will lose. Women and Men's Prison in Thunder Bay will lose. community families who are victims in need of their house burnings. We'll lose donations to needy families at Christmas. We'll lose, the list goes on. Our museum is self-sufficient thanks to Threads and our other donors, and it's volunteers. The cost to the municipality for our building being there and being open is nil. We are self-sufficient. So we're just asking you. Thank you.
We'll open the floor to questions now, and then we'll just do a quick draft
Okay.
after the questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions?
Through the chair, there's one you mentioned, the document that has the agreement between the Anglican Church and the township was in our package.
That's the package you received.
I don't
delivered to the township on.
I don't have no letter there stating that such. I have not seen a letter. I've been looking for that letter.
It was the last item in the package.
Do you have a copy of it?
Letter from the Township of Manitowoc dated November 10th, 2006 to the transfer lawyer for our Archival and Historical Society.
Okay, this letter. As per your request, a museum is a permitted use as per bylaw 87-25.
Through the chair, that speaks specifically only to zoning, that space in the community can be used for a museum. This says nothing about taxes or tax exemptions or anything else other than a museum can go on that land. And Mr. Cranley is the one who drafted that letter. Number.
Right, I see that.
It
Okay, no,
speaks-
I
it
just...
speaks specifically to zoning, not taxes.
Yeah, I thought it was specifically going to say that there was a tax-free exemption.
Verify that. The other thing on the letter, it states that the current status is institutional. At that point, institutional was tax-free. Institutional was a church. It says that what it's saying is that category will carry forward. So we would be retaining a tax-free status. You'd have to check the township files on that transfer. I have much more information in my files. But basically, this letter came about because our lawyer, the transfer lawyer, was asking the building department of Township of Manitowoc to confirm what the tax status would be when the transfer of ownership was complete. You may check your own township files for that. It will give you a better explanation of how we arrived at this letter.
Okay.
Through the chair, in regards to that letter, it specifically says on it that it's for zoning. It doesn't say anything on it about tax. I looked at this bylaw, and this bylaw is specific to zoning only. So all it's telling you is that it is still an institutional building, but it doesn't say anything in it about tax exemptions because that bylaw is specific to zoning. So if you have a letter that says they agreed to that, we don't have that letter. And that's not provided here. That's not what this is regarding. It says right on it that it's zoning. It doesn't say tax exemption.
And zoning determines the tax status.
But regarding that particular bylaw, that bylaw isn't regarding that. That's just regarding the zoning status of the building.
I strongly suggest you consult your own files, and this letter will make a lot more sense.
Any further questions? Ann, would you have
So I've
some
been asked.
clarification?
I've been asked to make some comments by council, so through the chair. Just a correction that zoning does not dictate tax status. It's the use of the building that would dictate tax status on a property. So again, to confirm what Councillor Hudson had said, all that letter states is that the land can be used for a museum based on our official plan at the time. in their zoning plan.
And zoning may not be the correct class, it's, what we're talking about is classification.
Which is totally different than what's in that letter. That letter doesn't address taxes at all or tax status. It only addresses what the land is used for.
Again, I urge you to go back and check your own files and
Okay, so I'm going to address that. We have a retention bylaw. We probably don't have those records because they're 17 years old. Our retention bylaw is only 7 years for those matters. So we, in all likelihood, and I explained that to you today, in all likelihood, we do not have those records. It's well beyond our retention period. So I just wanted to talk about some other things. We have no knowledge of your agreement with the church, and that's normal. When the municipality deals with a land transfer, all we get is a notice from MPAC saying that the property is transferred, there's a name, and there's an amount. We don't get all the details, all the chattels, we just get a one-liner in a table that says the document is transferred. So all of the things that might go with a sale of a property or the conditions, the house, the cat, the dog goes with it, we don't get any of those details. So anything that you might have agreed to with the church, we are not privy to, nor would we have ever been privy to that. So we wouldn't have that in our records no matter what. Going back about the tax situation, so I know what the process should have been. So in 2016, if you were taxed for 2017, you should have got a long notice from MPAC like every other property owner in the community gets, stating what your taxes would be, your assessment, I should say, would be for 2017. And based on that, we issued the bill for 2017. 2018, I know that at that point you had talked to MPAC about it, and they had issued you a request for reconsideration. And that was mailed once in January, once in March, and I know that you've stated that you haven't got it, and we have a copy of it because we are an interested party to the matter, as with all assessment appeals in Manitouwadge, so we actually have a copy of that. If the museum was to sign that today, and I confirmed that with MPAC and I confirmed that with you today in our telephone conversation, that although the deadline has passed for 2018, MPAC has said that they will honor it, and I don't know how long they'll honor that for. So I did stress to you today it was kind of imperative that you sign that sooner than later because they may say, no, we really have overextended ourselves. If the museum was to sign that today, I can send it out tomorrow. And what that would do, it would change the assessment on the museum for 2018. I can't address 17. It's too far back. It's outside of MPAC's purview. But for 2018, they would reduce your assessment from $222,000 to $53,000, which would make your 2018 taxes under $4,000 a year. So that's almost a $75,000 saving, a 75% savings. Now, they've been in conversations with you about this since the new year. I know that when we talked, that you had shared with us that you had talked to MPAC and you said you never got the letter. So we have the letter. If the museum board wants to sign it tonight, whoever has signing authority on it, that would go back to 2017 and it would also have 2018, and it would also have an impact on your 2019 taxes. Again, it would go from 222 to 53. So if you want to sign that tonight, you can, and we can take care of it. There's currently no provision in the Municipal Act or the Assessment Act for the municipality to write off these taxes. You don't qualify under a 357 because you're a non-for-profit organization. You don't qualify under 361 because it's for charities, and you're not a registered charity. I Googled it and you didn't show up, so if you are, I couldn't find you on the website. So you're not eligible under 361. And at this current time, Council also has a no donation policy. So I can't help you with the 2017, but like I said, I can certainly help you with 18 and 19 tonight.
Okay, just a quick response. I'm not going to get into an argument. Our last contact concerning that request for consideration, which we filed just days before Christmas in 2017, the last contact we've had with MPAC concerning that request for consideration was mid-January 2018. We have had no communication from Impact concerning that at all. We have been trying very hard during the last three weeks since our brief meeting with you there 3 weeks ago, where we learned that we may very well be missing some documents that Impact meant for us. Very weird that the township is getting these documents and we are not getting them. I mean,
They were emailed to us, so that's the
anyway,
difference.
That's all I've got to say on that.
Yeah, they were emailed to us, and we get emailed all documents regarding any appeals in the community.
Are there any further questions?
Yes, through the chair. In your presentation, Mr. Lavoie, you said you assumed that it had been resolved with MPAC because you'd heard nothing more from them. What caused you to assume that? Did you receive notification telling you it was, or was just an assumption you made because you heard nothing else?
We filed our request for reconsideration,
Yes.
and we didn't. What we asked for in that request for consideration was to recognize us as a museum and to recognize our tax-free status. That was our request. And we had a follow-up call from Impact mid-January requesting a few more details, sizes of windows, dimensions, that sort of stuff. We provided that, and then we never heard from them again. So we were quite relieved that we never heard from them again. We assumed it's finally been settled.
But you didn't receive anything from them saying it had been settled. You just made the assumption. Okay.
Through the chair, the normal process would have been is they would have received a request for reconsideration form for them to sign off that they agree to whatever the amended assessment may have been or what Impact was suggesting.
Okay.
So they would have had to approve a form and send it back to them. So it's possible they never got that form.
Okay.
Further questions? All right, we'll just a couple minutes to wrap it up. Thank you very much. We sincerely thank you for the opportunity to lead this deputation. During the past 10 days, our society has been copied with dozens of correspondence sent to council and administration expressing their outrage that this township would even consider destroying our community museum. We are dismayed that the township has not posted those communications on their website as required under the township's policies and procedures. You have all the information you could possibly need to make a decision. Even if there is a last-minute proposal to somehow lower the tax bill, you must understand that we have no ability to pay any property taxes now or in the future. The township should have some obligation to honor their 2006 commitment of tax-free status. At this time, we request that you have an open session discussion tonight while the information we have presented is fresh in your minds. We further request that you arrive at a resolution to waive any alleged taxes and declare tax-exempt status for our museum. This issue qualifies for an open session discussion because it is in the public interest and there are no qualifying exceptions to justify a closed session discussion on this matter. The fate of our community museum is in your hands. That concludes our presentation. Thank you much. Thank you very much for your attention and patience.
Thank you. Okay. Moved by Councillor Hudson, second by Councillor Moffat. Resolved that the deputation provided by the Manitouwadge Archival and Historical Society regarding outstanding property taxes be accepted as received, and be it further resolved that Council directs staff to arrange a special council meeting between the members of Council and Manitouwadge Historical and Archival Society for further discussions. I think it needs more discussion based on a lot of the questions that were raised tonight. All in favor?
Through the chair, does council wish to look at a date for that special meeting while all parties are in the room?
Yes.
Yes.
I guess, yeah, maybe we'll have to find out whether what date they're available too, so.
Yes, of course.
When would you like it? How soon?
We have to give 24 hours notice. We're looking for a date to have a joint meeting between the board and council to discuss this matter, so we're asking you what dates you might be available. We have to give 24 hours notice, so it can't be tomorrow.
Just an,
Early next week.
May 13th.
Yeah, I'll be gone Wednesday and Thursday, but
13th?
I'm gone until, I leave Friday morning, gone till the 19th, holidays, sorry.
Friday, the 10th?
Can you do?
is Friday the 10th available for
I'm sorry, say that again?
Friday the 10th of May? Is that available? Would you be
This
available?
Friday, yes.
Here, yes.
I won't be able to attend the 10th.
We prefer early next week if that fits your schedule.
No, I'm gone. Yeah, I'm gone all next week.
I'm here next week.
Can we do it on a Saturday?
No, like I said, I'm gone till the 19th,
No, when do you leave?
Friday morning.
No, we can't do it tomorrow. We don't have enough time to do the notice.
No, that's what I mean, so I'm out of it until the 19th.
Can't do tomorrow?
22nd.
No, we have to have 24 hours.
The 10th, you're asking for Friday the 10th, we'll have a full council then?
With the exception
Except
of,
for me.
Council Moffett.
I wouldn't be able.
Okay, so it's
I'd
gone
just-
for the weekend.
No.
Well, the 13th, and we're missing one.
Yeah.
What about the 13th of May,
What day of the week is that?
Monday.
Monday?
Yep. Is that good for us? Good.
Month, time of day preference,
It doesn't matter for
You're off?
Monday. I'm off.
6:30?
Yeah, that's fine.
Monday at 6:30?
Councilor Rolla? 6:30 Monday? Sure.
Okay, so we'll put in a special notice out, and
We understand that would be a scheduled council meeting open to the public?
it does actually meet the criteria of a closed session because it's an identifiable individual. So council can make the decision that they do or do not want to, but it does qualify under the municipal act to go into closed session.
There may be information that we need.
This is in the public interest. There's nothing that qualifies for a closed session meeting. This is in the public interest.
Then that's fine. Are you in agreement to a
Well, I'm not here.
public meeting?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yes, okay. 6:30, the 13th.
As long as it's an open session council.
Yes.
Yes, that's agreeable.
Through the chair, why is it, what way does it qualify as a closed session meeting?
Identifiable individuals and personal matters, which is a tax situation about a specific, it would be the same as any homeowner.
Okay.
Talking about their tax situation. We would not discuss that in public either. And Mr. Loy, that's the reason that your documents were not put on our website. Council does have all of your documents. We did provide it to them. We just didn't put it on the website because it's your personal information. So that's why it didn't go on the website.
In the package you received prior to the meeting, we gave you a confidentiality release form. We have given you permission to name any member of our executive. There is nothing that you consider privileged information.
Yeah, we considered it privileged, and there was no resolution from a board, or it was just a signature on a page. We don't know that that was approved by the board, so either way, that was the reason the decision was made. So, but council does have all your information.
The bottom line is, if you are not willing to meet us in an open session, we are not willing to meet you in closed session.
It does qualify, and it's up to council.
We've already said it's going to be an open session. Thank you. Moved by Councillor Moffat, seconded by Councillor Hudson. Resolved that the minutes of the special meeting held April 9, 2019 are accepted as circulated. All in favor? Quiet, please. Moved by Councillor Rolla, seconded by Councillor Moffat. Resolved that the minutes of the regular meeting held on April 10, 2019 are adopted as circulated. All in favor? There are no petitions, so we'll move to correspondence. Moved by Councillor Hudson, seconded by Councillor Moffat. Resolved that correspondence item number 0801 be received and filed. All in favor? Moved by Councillor Rolla, seconded by Councillor Scapanello. Resolved that the minutes of the meeting of the Manitowoc's Public Library Board held March 18, 2019 be accepted as received. All in favor? Moved by Councillor Moffat, second by Councillor Scapanello. Resolved that the minutes of the meeting of the Thunder Bay District Board of Health held March 20, 2019 be accepted as received. All in favor? Moved by Councillor Scapanello, seconded by Councillor Rolla. Resolved that the minutes of the meeting of the Thunder Bay District Social Service Administration Board held March 21, 2019 regular and March 21, 2019 closed be accepted as received. All in favor? There is no verbal update, so. Okay. Verbal update by the CAO.
Through the chair, I just wanted to update council that both myself and Tiffany Litster, chair of the CLC, had attended the high school, and we were looking for students to sit on the vacant positions for both the CLC committee and the newly established student councillor position. And unfortunately, we didn't receive any applications for either of those positions. So we'll try to reach out again, but there doesn't seem to be interest in these positions at this time.
Moved by Councillor Rolla, seconded by Councillor Hudson. being a bylaw to regulate the installation, repair, replacement, inspection, or alteration of a water meter, and to establish a system of recourse and penalties for the purposes of enforcing the bylaw, be read a first and second time. And further, be read a third time, passed and numbered as bylaw number 2. You're the only person I can ask questions?
No, Mr. Cranley.
Mr. Cranny is here. Mr. Cranny, would you like to talk about the water bylaw?
Thank you and good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. We were asked as the manager of the bylaw department to review the water meter bylaw and to look at its ability to be enforced. Although rare, we do have a couple of situations where people have maybe unknowingly or whatever done things to the water meter that aren't in keeping with the integrity of the system. So we reviewed the bylaw and made sure the words were current with the Municipal Act, that the bylaw was enforceable, and we also added Part 1 offense, which is a ticket as opposed to a court trip, just in the interest of efficiency. If we were to lay a charge at all under the old bylaw, it would have meant we had to go to court, which would mean the town and the property owner both would have to attend in Marathon to get it enforced. So they still have that option, but we could lay a ticket of offense for a water meter infraction, and then the property owner decide whether they want to abide by that ticket or have it taken to court.
Any questions?
Yes, through the chair. I realize this is about water meter issues, but back in our council meeting on February the 14th, council requested staff to prepare a report on the cost study on metered water rates versus flat water rates and the potential impact, and we have not received any such thing as of today. So I'm just wondering why we...
Through the chair, council is aware of the staffing situation, and that's why that report has not been prepared.
Okay, I'm aware of that. That's fine. But
That's
what I'm
right.
saying is, how can we go ahead with the bylaw on a situation that we haven't finalized the last section of it?
My understanding, the direction from council was to talk about water rates. This is to talk about water tampering with the water meter, two totally separate things.
Okay, thank you.
Through the chair, I'd just like clarification on a couple of things, please, Mr. Cranny. So it says in section 398.2 of the Municipal Act provides that a municipality may add fees and charges to the tax roll of the property to which the public utility is supplied and collect them in the same manner as municipal taxes. If I'm reading that correctly, and please correct me if I am wrong, if it's not paid, it will be added onto your tax bill?
That is an option, shutting
Okay.
the water off and
Okay.
adding expense to your tax bill.
Okay.
And through the chair, that's currently an option in the municipal act too, and we have been doing that.
Okay.
Seeing no further questions?
Actually, I have one more question,
Okay.
please, through the chair. In section 446 of the Municipal Act, it's provided the municipality may proceed to do things at a person's expense, which that person is otherwise required to do under a bylaw, but has failed to do, and the costs incurred by the municipality may be recovered by adding the costs to the tax roll and collecting in the same manner. What is that referring to?
This is the pipe feeding the meter from the property line, which is the property owner's pipe. We also have the option of shutting the water off or fixing the pipe. So right now, you could have water leaking out of somebody's front yard, and we basically, at this time, we ask them if for 14 days, we give them 14 days to develop a plan to deal with that issue, whether they're going to replace the pipe or get a contractor or retain the town or get that or do it themselves, have that pipe fixed. If they fail to do that, we could turn the water off or have the option to make the repair and add that repair to the tax bill, to their property tax bill.
So if the problem is out in the yard, but it's on the homeowner's side of it,
Yes, from the curb stop in.
so that's what this is regarding? Okay, thank you.
No further
No
questions?
further questions.
And be it furthermore, be read a third time, passed and numbered as bylaw number 2019-09. All in favor? Thank you.
Mr. Chair, if I could just take a look, and we'll assure that we'll get proper notes out to the public, Facebook website, all these other digital text stuff about a new bylaw and the fact that it is a short form wording chargeable effect. If someone did choose to go that route, you could place it in the issue today. So we will make sure we get proper public notification out on it. Thank you.
Moved by Councillor Hudson, seconded by Councillor Rolla. Whereas according to the Public Health Agency of Canada and the Canadian Mental Association Journal, autism spectrum disorder is one of the most common development disabilities in Canada, with 1 in 66 children diagnosed and approximately 1% of the Canadian population affected by ASD, which means that there are approximately 100,000 Ontarians on the autism spectrum. And whereas ASD is a lifelong neurological disorder that affects the way a person communicates and relates to the people and world around them, and whereas while ASD affects every child differently, their symptoms, abilities, and experiences can improve over time with the help of therapies and supportive practices, with evidence demonstration that when children start behavioral intervention between the ages of 2 and 5, they gain improvements in cognitive and language development, are better prepared for school, and are better long-term outcomes in adulthood. And whereas the provincial government has recently introduced new funding programs and service delivery approaches intended to address wait lists for treatment and other challenges with the existing ASD support system. And whereas considerable concerns have been expressed about those funding and program changes by a broad variety of stakeholders, including Autism Ontario, physicians, educators, therapists, and clinical and parents, and whereas those concerns speak to such matters as the inadequacy of funding, inflexibility of treatment programs, and lack of appropriate training and resources within classrooms that will be expected to support ASD students, any of which can determinedly affect families across Ontario, including those in Manitowoc. Now therefore be it resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Manitowoc formally requests that the Minister of Children, Communities and Social Services suspend implementation of the planned changes to the Ontario Autism Program pending meaningful consultation with a broad range of relevant stakeholders and inclusion of any necessary revisions to the program to ensure that autistic children receive the support they need for themselves within their communities, and that a copy of this resolution be forwarded to Premier Ford and the Association of Municipalities. All in favor? Thank you.
Through the chair, we'll also send a copy of this to Mr. Matha, who's been actively advocating on this, and we'll send it to the minister as well.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Scapanello, seconded by Councillor Hudson. Resolved that Council is in receipt of Ontario Clean Water Agency Standard of Care Training, date of May 27, 2019, and be it further resolved that upon conclusion of Council's review and consideration, we direct staff as follows. Number one is Council will attend the Standard of Care training on May 27th, and is there any?
Through the chair, this was requested by Council early in your term, and the first date wasn't confirmed and wasn't available. So this is the next date they're looking at, and we're looking to see if we would have enough council members able to attend that session.
I'm not available that day. I'm working.
I think I'm out of town that day.
Okay, so we'll try to reschedule it for maybe September. Is that all right? We're running into summer. September?
Would you say that?
Yeah. we can do it.
And be it further resolved that upon conclusion of council's review and consideration, direct staff as follows. Reschedule to September 2019. All in favor?
So we'll confirm with Aqua and the Ontario Clean Water Agency and see what dates are available in September, and we'll have lots of notice to hopefully.
Okay.
Moved by Councillor Moffat, seconded by Councillor Scapanello. Resolved that council is in receipt of administration report ADM 2019-07 submitted by Margaret Hartling, CAO, Clerk Treasurer, regarding per diem for CLC members.
Through the chair, this was brought up at the CLC meeting. As council is aware, these individuals are volunteer their times, and on occasion they're offered the opportunity to go out of town, to go on tours, or to attend training sessions and conferences. Those are all paid 100% by NWMO for all of the travel costs and whatnot. But what is not currently covered, because it isn't covered in municipal policy, is per diem for those individuals who are potentially losing wages to attend a training session on behalf of the municipality. So at one of their meetings, they asked that we approach council and ask them to review the per diems for the CLC committee members. So there are three options for you, and we'll have to amend number 3 if you choose number 3. There's a line missing on the resolution. So one of them is not approved per diem for the CLC members. We don't afford it to any other volunteer board, the library board, for example. If they travel and they lose wages, they would just use vacation. Council approved the per diem for all members as per the township policy. So whether you're retired or not, you would get the per diem. The third option is approved per diem just for those members who are actually losing wages upon proof to the clerk that they have indeed lost a day's wages, and that reimbursement would be based on the township policy of the day, whatever that amount may be. So it wouldn't be for retirees who are not losing any funds, just for those who have to take a day off work or a vacation day or day without pay to attend a training conference for the municipality. So those are council's options up for discussion.
Maybe through the chair, my thoughts are, if someone's going fair is fair, it should be B.
Through the chair, I think that option 3 would be the way I would choose to vote, because if they're losing wages, not everybody has a job where they get paid vacation days or sick days that they can take or anything like that. So if they're losing wages and they have to choose between being paid to do their job or going on a training course that they really want to go on but they can't afford to lose the wage, I think that's the fair way to go on that.
I have to agree with Kathy.
Through the chair, is there any cost estimate?
There is no cost to the municipality at all. It's NWMO have agreed that it's coming out of the funds that they grant for operating the CLC, right?
Correct. And the reason that this is new is we don't offer it to any other board. But because this is fully funded, that's why they're asking.
And it's a special type of board, too, because we're looking for these people to be our representatives in the community. So the more they learn about NWMO, the more they're able to spread the word to the people in the town. So we want them to take the courses and go and see the different demonstrations. So I agree with you. I think number 2 would be the one.
So we're 2 on number 2 and 2 on number 3. You're the tiebreaker, Dave.
I was thinking 3, but that's only me.
That would
Debate.
be, so you could call a vote on A and B, 2 and 3, and based on conversation, it would be, number 3 would be carried.
Okay.
Any more discussion on 2? I don't mind hearing more discussion.
Okay, but my feeling is that everybody on that board should be able to go. There've been quite a few times when the people who are working may not be able to go, and you would be discouraging the people who are not necessarily working, not letting them have the per diem that other people could get.
The per diem is intended, through the chair, the per diem is intended to replace lost wages. Their travel expenses are 100% paid from the minute they leave the door to the minute they get back. Hotels, meals, taxis, that's all covered.
Through the chair, I'm taking number 3.
Okay, I'll call the question. And be it further resolved that upon conclusion of Council's review and consideration, direct staff as follows. Council approves per diem for CLC members for lost wages up to the maximum approved for Council members upon documentation supporting that lost wages to the clerk. All in favor?
There's something that needs to be added. It was in my report and it's missed on the resolution.
Council approves per diem for CLC members for lost wages up to the maximum approved for Council members upon documentation supporting that lost wages to the clerk. This option would only provide per diem for those members who have a wage loss. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. There are no motions or notice of motions, and there are no closed sessions. Is there any business arising? No, there is no closed session. So, moved by Councillor Scapanello and seconded by Councillor Moffat. Resolved that the regular meeting adjourn at the hour of 7:57. All in favor?